Hi, this is Eric Elfner from Xsnippet.com. I'm going to demonstrate the genetic maze app here and take a quick walk through the code. First, I'm going to demonstrate it. We will run it here on iPhone 5S. The first thing I'll point out is that you'll notice there are three areas. There's the maze itself, and when you click run, it's going to try to navigate from this top left corner to the bottom right corner, and that's the whole purpose of the maze runner. Then you see a little command section, and then down here this is actually a tab navigator, and it has a couple different view controllers in here. First thing I'll show you is that I'm going to rotate this, and on rotation you notice that these windows now moved over to the right. They were below it. I'll switch it back here. You can see them up here. And I'll switch it back. I'm going to do in this mode so that we can make it bigger and see what's going on a little better. And so you got the run, and as it runs, it reports back what generation it's on, what's the fitness of the best, which is the solution that's currently shown. You can pause it, you can reset it, you can randomize it again. It's just creating a random version. This configuration tab is actually how you can configure the mutation that happens during each generation. And we have a couple of different items in here that you can change. And there's one set of controls for before the end is reached, meaning it hasn't reached here. Because even after it's reached here, it may not have an optimal route. And then after the end is reached, maybe it does some different mutations. And you can set some characteristics up on the environment. How many of the current individuals die with each generation, and what is the population. And really this is just to allow you to play around to see how this affects the genetic algorithm. This next tab is a design tab. Here you can create a much more complex, much more higher resolution maze. Randomized, still doing the same thing. You can create your own maze. You can set all walls and then start drawing what you want. You can start with no walls and you can draw the walls in. You can use this to invert the path so that, okay. And then this is actually a way where you can actually save a maze, save and load a maze configuration if you wanted to. And it will group these by the current dimensions of the maze. Jumping back over here to the code, I'm going to give you a quick walkthrough. The code's been organized here. The first thing I'm going to mention is the actual genetic algorithm, which is very generic. And I have another video that you can go view based on the genetic sort, where I actually walk you through the whole thing. But for this one, it's in this folder called Problem. And we have the maze, which is the environment, and the maze runner, which is a solution, is the individual. So you have several of these individuals competing to be the best maze runner. And this maze config is simply the configuration parameters for a maze. Persistence, we'll talk about that. It's based on core data, and it uses this core data safe, which is a class I created to make using core data safe and easy, and there are also videos on that you can find. And two other classes here I wanted to mention. This random extension is really just so I can easily create some random numbers, because a lot of this is based on random numbers. And this orientation size trait view controller is what allows that landscape portrait to have those views swap out very easily. And I have a video also on that and how you can use that, and it makes it extremely easy to do that, and you can do it in the Storyboard. And then here's that genetic algorithm, which is the exact same, or extremely close to the same code that is used in this application. I use it for running the sort, and also I use it for taking a picture and replacing it with circles. And so you might want to check that app out as well. Really, the whole purpose of this set of apps is to show that this one very generic genetic algorithm can solve lots of different problems. Here's just some of the app assets, the images, and the app delegate doesn't have any changes in it. So the whole application really is surrounded around the main view controller. And let me bring up, to start with, the Storyboard so we can see this. Okay. So we have the main view controller that has the MazeView here, which is a custom view class. And this is a container for this tab bar controller. And inside that tab bar, you see that we have the information view, the kind of just the home is kind of the general information about running, the configuration, where you can set the configuration, the design controls, and then the save. And each of these consists of, let's just look at one. So inside the view, you'll see a scroll view and then a content view. And they're all set up the same way. And this gives that really easy to use dynamic interface where you can have a scroll view for controlling for sizes. And in a minute, I'll go back and run this on an iPad and show how this feature, along with the size orientation trait view controller class, kind of makes it for a very dynamic application. As I mentioned, the main view controller is kind of the central of this application. Now, I did that because I wanted to try to keep it simple and not create too many extra classes. And what happens is when this container down here embeds these other ones, we set links back to the main view controller to use it as the kind of the controlling center of this application. Now, if you're going to make a more complicated application, you probably want to pull that out, and you could do a presentation controller and then have service classes. But I didn't want to overdo it with the number of classes that I have here. Switching over to the main view controller, you see at the top here is this protocol SubView So when we get this prepare for segue, I have labeled the segue that embeds the tab view controller. Then this is where we will set the main view controller onto all these sub view controllers. So if we look at one of these, like any of these, I'll start at the top, config, you'll see it's a sub view controller. And again, going back to the main view controller, you see that is this protocol up here. And it's really just to set this main view controller. Okay. Some of the features I want to talk about for this application. First of all, the MazeView. So this is a custom UIView, not a view controller, a custom view. And it handles drawing of the maze, drawing the solution, and handling the touches. Now, to handle the touches, when you create this, you have to set a DesignTouchHandler, which is this protocol here. So you have to have something that will get called to know that something's been touched, and it will be a point at which it was touched. And then you can decide what to do about the fact it was touched there. A couple quick things on this. It is built using shape layers. So you have separate shape layers for the maze. That's kind of the grid, the walls in there, and then there's a solutions shape layer, and this is where the best solution you see displayed. There's more solutions than that are involved, but only the best one is displayed, and so that gets updated more frequently than the others do. So I'm not going to go through all this code, but you can see here's where I build the grid, and here's the touch handling. So it's really not a lot here. The main thing is to take a touch and to convert it into a touch point for the maze, and then call the handler that's set up for that. The information view controller, very simple. Has some share things in here, share by email. And one other interesting piece of this is this ability to get a snapshot image of the maze. So this is a way that you can pull the current shot of the image of the maze into a UI image, so you can paste it into your email, into the email that's created. So that's a pretty cool feature, and it's also used in saving to core data. Configuration. So here we have just a lot of controls. And there's this maze config that you saw down here in this problem space, which holds all these values, the current values for these. So this is really just adding and updating that configuration. The design view controller. So we have a few controls here, and a lot of the work in this is actually delegated to the main view controller. So setting the size, putting all the walls in, removing the walls. Okay. And the save view controller. So this uses a fetch results controller and uses this core data safe model that I was telling you about. And it allows you to add current mazes in to the core data and pull them back out. And this is all the table view controller methods. And here's the fetch results controller delegate to handle updates. And so the last thing I'm going to show you then is talk about the main view controller, which really, it is the heart of this. It's probably a little longer than you want your view controller to be. But I didn't want to break this out into too many pieces. So it does have some extra parts into it. Just looking here from the menu, you can see it handles the kind of the buttons that are on that screen: to run, pause, clear, random, and here's the design part. And now, at this point in the app, you'll see that when it's not designable, that the view gets grayed out. Previously, I had it where you would tap on something and then you get this pop-up to say, hey, not ready. You can only do designing if the maze is not running. And this is just some nice little code to do a pop-up that automatically dismisses after a short delay. So I just thought I'd leave it in here as an example, even though I'm no longer using it. Here's handling the touches, depending on the design mode. It will tell the maze to set a wall, open a wall, or invert a wall. Putting all the walls on new walls. So that's kind of an overview of this. I will switch back one more time. This time we're going to run it on an iPad. And let me choose, let's see, just read this iPad error. Okay, so here it has come up on Air 2. Again, I will rotate it, make this bigger. You can see that it moved this over here, and it works the same as before. The one interesting thing, though, I wanted to show you is that if you took, let's put Safari over here, and now you notice that the aspect ratio here has changed such that this is now in a portrait mode, so it's switched over to a portrait mode. And then if you come back here all the way, it's now back in the landscape mode. And back up. Now this one configuration right here, you'll notice that it is actually kind of square, really. And in that case, you might want to even limit more, or how much, make this some kind of minimal amount of space if you're going to do this kind of thing, so you don't have to scroll through so much here. But it is a way that where, with very little code, you're able to dynamically use your layout that's available to you. Thanks for watching. I'm Eric Elfner with Xsnippet.com. Thanks.